there's 120 people on the football team here, and I saw this real need coming out of the pandemic of like people dealing with stuff, but there wasn't a space for men to talk about it. Like there's a stigma attached to it, and so I kind of asked all the people that I needed to ask for permission and stuff, and then I booked the football team room, and I just word of mouth told the guys, hey, I'm just gonna hold like a group chat in the locker room. You know, if you guys want to come and talk about anything that's going on. I didn't use the word mental health specifically because that would turn away everyone. But it was just like, hey, you know, what's on your mind? Let's go and chat about it. There's a group of us meeting in the next room. And we started off small. We had like maybe 5 people the first time, and most of them were just my best friends on the football team coming to support whatever weird idea I had to sit in the circle and talk. And then seriously, over the next 3 months, it grew to like 20, 25 people, 25 young men sitting in a room discussing, crying, like detailing the stuff that they were dealing with in life. And we had this amazing experience, just this connection, this bond. And I'm still extremely close with everyone that was in that room. And like, they will forever be able to reach out to me, and I'll be there for them. And it was this bond, this resource that we created that I thought, wow, this if we could do this on the football team, this needs to happen at the student athlete level. And that's where Elise comes in. And we took it to the student athlete level, and that's where you come in as well. And we sort of got it off the ground through SAC, the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. And it's over a year now, and which is pretty incredible that we've been holding it, you know, weekly really bi-weekly, you know, every couple of weeks now for over a year is pretty incredible, and had multiple different people come through and come by, and it's a pretty special thing to say that we helped set that up. And I think we've helped a lot of people along the way. Like a lot of people have reached out to me and said, you know, without this space, without you bringing this up, like I don't know what would have happened. So
why did you feel the need to help out in that space? It could have been anyone.
Yeah.
Why you?
Because I'd been there and done that. I'd seen it all before, a lot of it before. You know, I've never had, you know, an eating disorder or something of that magnitude, but I've seen mental health and bad mental health. And I can see the signs and symptoms of when someone's not showing up the way they normally do. And unfortunately, like there is this stigma attached to sports that like we just don't ask that question. We can see people struggling, and often we just leave it. They're going to be fine. They need some time. They need space. Sometimes you just, you know, how are you doing? Like, are you doing okay? Do you want to talk about it? And that, especially as men, there's stigma around that. It's like, don't be soft. Don't ask me that. Like, I'm fine. But I'd seen the signs. I'd seen the symptoms, and you know, there was people that needed to talk, and so you've got to. There wasn't like pushing, but you have to really get them to be in that space and hear other people are struggling too, and then from there they open up. And some guys came for like 5 sessions in a row, didn't say a word, and then on the 6th session,
Floodgates.
Totally.
Have you ever looked into the mental health / masculinity issue?
Yes.
It's obvious why those reasons come out, right? Like it's not a surprise or any secret that it's because of our sociological nature historically and what we like to portray about ourselves. But what has been the biggest issue with your male friends here, especially on the football team or student athletes, that you see in comparison to females?
There's a stigma around how you'll be viewed by your coach and by your peers. And there's a real fear that sharing any type of weakness, quote unquote weakness, you know, that my mental health isn't strong, by admitting that, you're admitting that you shouldn't be getting game time, right? There's a real fear that by someone mentioning something, that is a reason for them not to play or not to be given the starting job, or because that person can't be trusted, they're weak in the mind. And so there's this real disconnect between athletes and coaches, and not all, right? Some coaches are really supportive, right? But a lot need way better mental health literacy and understanding, and like they need to support their athletes a lot better than they are. And I think with men, it's just this idea of being weak and being soft. Like, I'm not going to tell my coach what's going on because I don't want to look weak and I don't want to forfeit my spot on the team.
What did you do to avoid those issues, to not look weak for your coaches, to not lose your playing time, to not lose your spot on the team, especially bringing it up? You were just let on the team, and now you're bringing this up for the entire team and making potentially a quarter of the team or a fifth of the team look weak and bad, and as if they are willing to put up with their playing time.
Yeah.
What did you do to avoid that?
We honestly kept it internal. Like, it was peer-to-peer, right? So it's only student athletes. And what we say at the start of every meeting is whatever happens in this meeting stays in this meeting. So we asked that of everyone, and like, there was no coaches in the room. So technically what was said in that meeting stayed in that meeting. And certainly from my end, that was the case. And there's a reason that it's peer-to-peer and that we don't have coaches in there or athletic trainers or, anyone else. It's because that's a safe space to share what's going on and showing people that if they, by continually showing up and like by me being vulnerable and other people being vulnerable and yet they're still starting. Like, I started every game I played at Cal and I was always vulnerable about what I had been through. Because remember, like, throughout this period, my mental health was pretty good. So I wasn't like telling them what was going on with me in the moment. I was telling them what I'd been through. And that takes vulnerability as well. But I was showing them that by talking about this, I wasn't losing my playing time. And so, you're probably not going to lose yours as long as we keep this in-house. But I think what needs to happen is like education of athletes and coaches through like a mental health literacy program, and just people getting a better understanding of like, the stereotypes that go around about mental health are so wrong and so harmful. There needs to be better education for both player and coach about that so we can stop the harm.
Why do you think this is not the case for female student athletes?
I think there's definitely a case that it's happening for female student athletes as well. There's more of this like weakness, a stigma attached to like the gender role of being a male. But I still think there's that coach issue in female sports as well. In fact, I know that. But I think it's, the weakness thing is very much this terrible idea that like what it is to be a male, which is like you must be strong, you must be tough, you can't show any type of weakness. And in fact, like I would argue that talking about mental health is probably one of the strongest and one of the most vulnerable and courageous things you could possibly do. And I would think that that's a sign of strength.